in the letter, basically dismissing my complaint again, saying, well, there's no evidence of any ethical issues. And as you can see, this complaint that we filed has a laundry list of ethical issues, but I guess he has to actually be convicted first. And as for the original case, they're stating things that are not true, also in part that the lawyer didn't put it forward, like that we amended the complaint, or the 4 motions that I filed, or the fact that I showed up and spoke for 20 minutes at that hearing involved and filed a written response where the court claimed that I didn't respond, which was, I don't know what they're talking about, and completely ignored me. And so they failed to acknowledge this. The court failed to acknowledge this. So now I'm talking to, which is also, the lawyer involved said that he had never filed an appeal before, so he couldn't help me with the appeal. So that's why, I wound up doing it on my own. But it's beside the point. He didn't put forth the argument to begin with. So I'm talking to this Maria. See, I'll show you the Chief Justice person who's with the state bar. Her name is Maria Oropeza.
And what is her title? Does she have a title?
Well, it says Deputy Trial Counsel, but
for the organization who you filed a
that's
complaint
with the state
with
bar. It's the State Bar of
Association.
California. She said she's like the Chief Justice for the state bar. Now, I thought that they had their own court. And I said, well, aren't we going to have a court case? Or, you're a separate entity. And she said, no, we're under the California Supreme Court. And she said she had to do whatever the court ruled, whatever the court said. And I said, well, you're an individual looking this. I submitted the evidence to you for a purpose, for it to be looked at, right, by an individual.
You're saying what you told her. You contacted her since you received this letter?
Yeah. I just spoke to her this morning, as a matter of fact.
Okay. Do you have a copy of your confirmatory letter of your conversation yet?
Oh, well, this is the letter that she sent back to me about the complaint.
And you spoke to her, you said, this morning.
Yeah.
So you have notes of your conversation with her. Have you confirmed that with a confirmatory writing sent to her return receipt requested? Yeah.
Well, it was a phone call, so it wasn't anything written.
Right. I understand that.
There's nothing.
You said that twice, and I understand
I don't know what
that was a phone call. You have some notes from your conversation. Is that correct? With her?
No, I'm reporting them to you now, so I'm telling you what she said.
You have your personal recollection at this point. And since
it was an hour ago, so I'm here to tell you about it.
You know about it. And you're about to develop a record right here because you're going to get an opportunity to discuss it.
You can call her yourself if you want to verify, but here's what she said. She tells me...
Maggie, please, I'm on your side.
Okay.
I want you to win. I'm intent upon you developing some evidence.
About the conversation I had?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's right here in the letter.
Isn't that evidence?
She said she's upholding the letter. That's what I'm trying to explain to you what she said. And I told her, I said, well, I can prove to you, based on what I submitted, and it's right in front of her face in the letter in the initial complaint that I had, I gave her the facts that were contrary to the facts that she put in the letter.
Okay, let's go through those. Can you mark those off, or can you?
I can discuss them right here.
Can you do it on the fly? Let's take the first one and take a look at what you said happened, what your view of the facts were, and since they weren't there, they didn't really know. They either rely upon your view of the facts or someone else's.
Well, she's relying on the appellate court's review or view of the facts. But of course, we have since appealed the case because they were incorrect.
Okay.
And they refused to look at the facts. They're not listening. So there's nothing I can do.
No, they haven't listened so far.
Well, they're not reading. They're not looking at it. And she acknowledged it. The arbitrator saw it, and she acknowledged it.
I want to try to explain this to you and definitely to the listening audience on how to handle cases like this if you want to win. I don't want to be arguing about what they're doing wrong 6 months from now, a year from now, a year and a half from now. I want to start today, start putting together a case file that will win.
Okay.
Okay, does this lady have a supervisor?
Sounded like she was the chief. She was it. Maybe she's it.
She's right below the Supreme Court of California?
She told me that the California State Bar was an arm of the California Supreme Court. Okay. So I guess the court is her supervisor.
Okay, I want you to confirm that with somebody that's an officer of the Supreme Court, a secretary or a receptionist or a public relations person for the Supreme Court. Confirm that what she told you is correct as far as they're concerned, and send a letter to that effect to them.
Well, there is...
Anything that you send to this lady, you also copy to them. Return receipt requested. Well, you've got proof that you can show that they definitely received all correspondence from you. You're not trying to hide anything.
They have it. They've already got an appeal of the case. They denied it. They didn't read it. I can prove you they didn't read it. But
you've already said that.
Here's
right.
the process.
Now, do we want to change that, or we just want to worry about what they did?
She has attached to her letter a process to appeal it to the U.S. Supreme Court if I don't like her decision.
Oh, great. Isn't that neat, folks?
She's passed the buck.
She's going to help you. Yeah, right. She couldn't help you when you filed the complaint, and now she says, here's what you need to do. Well, if you're that silly, you deserve to do it. Do you actually think, Maggie, for a second that she would tell you what you needed to do?
Well,
what's your feelings on that?
I'm sitting here talking to her, and I said, you as an individual can look at what I've submitted black and white, and you can see the facts of of what I've submitted. It's in the file.
You had that undeniable conversation with her today.
Undeniable proof, and she agreed that the appellate court was wrong or maybe wrong, but she could not go against it because that's who she answers to. So what I'm here to tell you is that the California State Bar answers to the appellate court and the California Supreme Court. They do not hear cases independent of that. You have to have a ruling in your favor. Whether you've been denied due process or not, it doesn't matter. The California State Bar, she's like a zombie to them. She just answers to them. There's no consciousness. To me, that's criminal. Okay? If you have an individual who knows that material facts, they're looking at it for themselves, and they see that something is wrong with the ruling, and this is an independent. What is the purpose of having another branch to look at the information if they're not going to look at it? And this was a legal malpractice. It's technically a different case than the original case.
Slow down just a little less caffeine, please.
I had no caffeine.
Okay, well then
I'm running on.
Sit back.
Please. No coffee.
On adrenaline. Okay.
Oh, adrenaline.
Sit back, relax for a second, and try to envision how a case like this could be handled. We're going to start documenting exactly what you just said, what that lady told you. We're going to serve it on the people that are her, that she answers to. As soon as we get a confirmation that they admit that they're the supervisor or the next level from her, and then we'll start developing a case file with evidence.
Well, she has the evidence and they have the evidence. They're just not reading it.
She's ignored it.
Right.
And she's not only ignored it from what you've told me so far, she's intentionally and deliberately distorted the evidence.
That's what I'm having a problem with. She's aware of it. I have pointed it out to her. And as a human being, she's just,
relax.
Is this the state bar?
Yes.
They're just they're just a protection organization. They're not a court.
Very good, Clark.
They're not a court. They're nobody.
Well, they're supposed to have a state bar court. My case did not even...
If we want it changed, we change it.
Right,
in fact, there was a show on just in front of mine that was encouraging that.
But we're not there. Yeah, that's what needs to be done.
Well, I do. I believe
that's not a court.
backup plans. show that we had earlier, I don't see even the town hall meeting coming. But once we get there, I want to have some ammunition going, and I want a backup plan.
No, what's going on? Let me explain.
All
She
I want to
says
do is
there,
win. I'm a street fighter. I win.
there is a state bar court, so I'm told, a separate court. My case did not go to the court. I didn't get heard. My initial case never got a jury trial, and this legal malpractice case never got a jury trial. Never has been heard.
What is the procedure
Why?
to get to that court?
Well, initially you file a complaint. Now, she's claiming that I don't have, I haven't stated ethics, that there have been problems with the professional code of ethics and stuff. And I said, what are you talking about? I have the complaint right here, which I've also filed with them. I mean, we have a laundry list of accusations of problems with the ethics, fraudulent misrepresentation and otherwise. What part of it did she not understand?
Do they have any rules or regulations that they're supposed to be following?
Well, she says, I guess that I have to prove this in the I said I proved it to the arbitrator, who agreed. Mm-hmm. It was a rational individual, sat down and read and heard the information, and he ruled in my favor. But nope, I can't go. Now we have to go to court and do it all over again. What's the point of having a state bar court if they're not going to hear the cases? Now, she says I have to get a ruling in the trial court before going to the state bar court, but, well, if we have a ruling in the trial court, then we don't need to go to the state bar court, right?
You had a ruling in the trial court. They dismissed your case.
The legal malpractice case. Yeah, the original case, that's pending, but it's like they've been trying to strike everything you submit for one reason or another. I mean, they're looking to not hear cases. But the original case, yes, was denied with no reason. That was the whole point. So the lawyer was hired to find out why they ruled against me, so that, and why they didn't answer to all of the things that I submitted, so that we could respond, right, and move it forward. But he didn't do that. He didn't even ask them. So that's why, he's at fault, why we're questioning his ethics and questioning his actions.
That was why you wanted the arbitration hearing.
Right. The arbitration ruled 100%, every penny, in my favor, because he sat down and actually listened to the case. I explained to him and I showed him the facts of the case. Took about an hour to go through the paperwork, and he said, yep, and he ruled every penny, the whole thing, in my favor, because he actually heard the case, he read it, he looked at it. The other people involved have not. They've not allowed it to be heard. Either that, or they're just, I don't know. What do you think, Stephen?
I think it could be exactly like Clark says.
What's that?
This organization is a cover-up. It's a fraud perpetrated by the deceivers within the California legislature. And folks, I went to law school in California, and it's not always like this. And there are people in California that want to change it. They're just waiting for somebody to do something about it, rather than just whine about it. Put something together, get an evidence file together, which Maggie, I hope, is going to do, or she's going to get to hear about it continuously, and as long as I'm trying to assist her. And you take it before the appropriate parties, and you see what they've got to say. If they don't have anything to say about it, you take it to their superiors, and when you get to the top, and they say, we aren't going to help you no matter what. You didn't make the appropriate payment to us. We can't help you unless you bribe us. Excuse me. No, I apologize there. It's been a long time since I've been in California. They don't bribe officials in California. The federal or the California officials accept political contributions. That's they would never be silly enough to accept a bribe. But if you don't do that, then we can't give you any type of justice. And if that's the way it is, then the last step, you take it to the people. And if the people don't care, don't worry about California. It's going into the ocean. But there's a lot of people that care. They're just waiting for people to do something properly. that they can see. Believe me, there'll be plenty of media coverage on this. And these people, there's a good chance the organizations that I've worked up with have folded like cheap suits. Once your letters start getting into that file, return receipt requested, and their superiors start getting letters confirming that, and you start working your way up the hierarchy, they don't know who you are, Maggie. They don't know who you're working for. They don't know who might be helping you do this. And there's one thing they don't want: removal from office, their political careers destroyed. And they aren't going to take a chance at, hey, we got to let this one go. You know, we can continue to rip off the 99.9%, but we can't rip off this girl. She's too vigilant. She knows something's wrong. She's going to keep going until bad things happen to some of us. And so if we don't want that to happen, then let's let her win. And you know what happens then? You win. So far, I mean, Irwin used to tell me, oh, that won't work every time. That won't work every time. Irwin, I can't argue with you. I don't argue with anybody. I give you different approaches. You may want to consider this. I know I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I did that twice, and it won both times. Irwin, shouldn't we at least try it until it doesn't work? Then we can say, well, it only works 2 out of 3 times. But I got a feeling it's going to be 3 out of 3, then 4 out of 4, then 5 out of 5. And then once you develop a track record, and who is this Maggie? They do a search on Maggie. Oh, by the way, the gentleman that's involved in research on impropriety in the judicial system that you met yesterday, I emailed him your link to the website for your video.
Right.
And he said he tried to get on it, and he has to have special permission to get on it.
The Vimeo link?
I don't know, the one that I had sent to the gentleman in California.
Well, we'll have to look into that.
So I'm making you aware that someone may be fooling around with your website. I said, well, I didn't have any trouble. I clicked on it, well, it came right out.
So it opened for you, but not for them?
Well, I watched it. I wouldn't have sent it to the gentleman in California, or I wouldn't have sent it to the gentleman yesterday unless I thought he could watch it.
I may have had it on private at the time I posted it because the case was still going on. However, I was told through YouTube and Vimeo, if you send the link, then they should be able to open it. So
well, I apologize. I meant to send you that this morning so that you could have done it.
I'll check it out.
He was looking
we'll see. But if you opened it, he should be able to open it.
I would have thought so.
I don't know.
I have no idea. Computers are not always my friend, folks. I'm not big on these things. It's an amazing invention, and I'd like to personally thank Al Gore for inventing it. I don't know that Al Gore deserves to tax us for cutting down on these carbon emissions. I'm not ready to go that far out, but I would make a political contribution to you as far as your invention of the internet and the computer systems. As long as you show me that you did that, I've been involved with these banks for too long. They say they own these houses, they want the payments, but now I find out they can't even document that they own the properties. So, but Al, I would never accuse you of any propriety like them. But Al, if you're listening, that's Mr. Gore. Just go ahead and call the Tribune and forward that information on your invention of the internet, and I'll be happy to make a political contribution if you decide to run for any political office again. But that's, I would like to go through that just as preparatory for our future involvement if you want to.
Sure.
Start going through the what you had showed them You're making a record now. As much as you can right now, remember the conversation with...
Well, it's on paper. I mean, everything's a controversy, the complaint, and then the letter she sent.
Okay, you started, you had to, let me make sure I understand this. You had the letter in front of you when you were speaking to her.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot.
so you began at the start, you
Right.
began going through the points, so do the same thing that you did in that conversation right now with the letter, and go through it point by point, and what you said, and what, as much as you can, is what you said and what she said. And if I have any questions, I'll try to interject them. But can you do that?
Well, yeah, I can go through this with you, but she stopped me and said that she has nothing to do with it. She said she just got her information from the appellate court. So basically what I'm trying to say is that there is no point in our tax dollars having this branch of government where we have a whole nother court called the State Bar Court when they don't hear cases, they don't look at the evidence. They require another ruling from a different court, the lower court.
Exactly.
So they're not.
That's
I mean,
what I want to change.
she didn't even look at it. She wasn't willing.
That's a very good point. And you know that she wasn't willing to look because when you started on the first point, let's go to the first point.
Right.
We're developing an evidence file.
Right.
The way you get things done is to know what you can prove. Right now, you can make a lot of allegations, assumptions, and accusations, but somebody's going to ask you, Maggie, where's your proof?
Okay.
Well, so let's develop some proof.
Right.
Start at the start of the letter. Start wherever you started with her.
Well, you know,
And to the best of your recollection, start with that point.
Okay.
Tell us about that point, and tell us what you said and what she said. You told us that she said that she really didn't have any jurisdiction, the way I heard it, or that she couldn't really conduct a hearing. But you
right, but I guess I was asking her, as a person who I am speaking to, who's looking at the information, to go back to her superior, like you say, or whoever she's dealing with, or the court,
wait a second.
whatever.
You guess you were asking her. What did...
I was
Let's start with the conversation. I wish you had a recording of it. You really should have recorded it. But now, since we'll go to plan 2, it was just an hour ago.
Yes.
It's fresh in your mind.
Yes.
The first thing you said to the lady was hello.
Yes.
And you introduced yourself, and you asked if she was the lady the person on the letter. You
Yes.
asked her if that's who you wanted to speak to.
This is who I spoke to.
Okay, so she came on and she confirmed that she was the individual that sent you that letter.
Right.
And then you said what?
I told her that the facts there contain facts in the letter that are not true, and let me prove it to her and point it out per the complaint that I filed and the evidence that I put with the complaint.
Okay, well,
And
actually
she
what you were
agreed.
trying to do was provide her with evidence to document or to
She has
support.
the evidence. She's just
or-
refusing to look at it
How do you know that?
because she has
Maybe
it.
she looked at it and just thought you were a complete and total liar. And maybe she's maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a rule or...
No,
or
it's very
something.
simple. It says no amendment was ever filed, but she has the amendment that was filed.
Okay, let's take a look at that one. What amendments are they talking about?
Well, we filed a second amended complaint or the second cause of action. That's what she's referring to. It was filed, and in the course of it
Can
being...
you read that paragraph for the record? Or whatever that refers
It
to what
says no
you said?
amendment...
No, the whole sentence, probably the whole paragraph.
Well,
We're
I
going to
don't know if
document the evidence.
Okay.
We're going to take things out of context.
Right.
We're going to know or we're going to get a good handle upon what she's basing her statement and what she's talking about in that paragraph, which should be closely related to her statement. And
Okay.
So just go ahead and,
Well,
if
it
you want me
says-
to, I'll read the paragraph. Just point it out to me which one it is, and I'll be happy to read it.
All right. You appeared at the hearing on the demurrer without your counsel. Again, my counsel was sick, so that's why I was there alone at that time, and the court deemed the matter submitted. The court sustained the demurrer without leave to amend and to the causes of action for libel, negligence, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. It overruled the demur as to the cause of action for intentional interference of contractual relations and granted 10 days to file an amendment to the cause of action for prospective economic advantage. No amendment was ever filed. That's not true. There was an amendment that was filed.
Within the 10 days?
Yes, I filed a motion asking for extension of time because my lawyer was not responding and he was sick.
All right.
So, I filed 4 motions.
A justifiable delay, folks.
That
happens.
He was in the hospital. He was out sick. I explained that to them. It's in the file. I did show up. I was responding to everything, So, they're just completely ignoring the fact that I filed a motion for extension of time. And in fact, this lawyer that we're, talking about with the legal malpractice, he himself filed the amended complaint when he subbed in. So it's in the file. So for them to say that we didn't file it. So after, she's not looking at the fact that after the appellate court said this, of course, I came back on the petition for rehearing, and I said, you're mistaken. Please look at this. And I pointed out to them that I did the motion for extension of time, and I pointed out to them that here is the amendment. We did file it, and I got no response. They just ignored it and denied me for no reason given. So they're just ignoring me, Stephen. I don't know I don't understand why they're not looking at it, but they're just ignoring the facts. That's why I've appealed it.
Take me back through that again. You filed a second amendment.
Second amended complaint for the second cause of action that it was involving, where we were supposed to amend this cause of action. And we did.
Pertaining to the two claims that they said you could amend on.
Right, that they said we could. And we did do that, and it is in the file. I'm just being ignored. They're just not, Now, we have appealed this on up the courts, asking for them to look at it. The state bar should be a separate entity for their own reasons looking at the case. It was, this lawyer that submitted this should be on it to say, why aren't you looking at my amended complaint? Why aren't you looking at, he didn't do his job to put forward that I filed this extension, and why didn't the court respond to it? Or why didn't the court respond to my response? You see what I mean? So this is why he's at fault. He didn't put forward the basic information, the argument, right? So the state bar is their own branch of, department where they have their own court.
Are you telling me I'm just trying to attempt to focus in on your conversation with this lady. You had a conversation with this lady to that effect?
Yes.
Okay, and you were saying what you're saying now to her?
Yeah.
Okay, and she, when you said that, did she respond at all? Or?
She told me also that I said, there must be other people as well. She said, yes, there have been other people who were also looking to file complaints, but didn't have an appellate ruling in their favor for one reason or another, and she was not able to go forward it, despite the fact that the facts might warrant their, and that they have merit to their cases, and despite the fact that the facts say otherwise. But she said she was not able to do anything about it. So what is the purpose of having a state bar or a state bar court? If they're not hearing cases, they're not.
Well, at the appellate level, she said that she needed a decision from the appellate level to consider it.
Has nothing to do with it. If I file a complaint with a separate court, the state bar court is looking at based on legal malpractice. They're supposed to look at the case themselves.
You have a case that says that, or are you just making this up?
The state bar court?
I don't,
Yeah, yes, it's in the.
Hear it. I thought maybe you had some authority for that, for their.
Well, yeah, on the website, if you look at the information, if you file a complaint, they have a state bar court, and they would hear a case. They didn't hear the case, and they're ignoring the facts. That's what's going on.
Okay, well, I haven't obviously seen the state court.
Yeah, if you look at the website and look at the process, they have their own court, state bar court. That's what it says.
Okay. And
She confirmed that they had their own court.
right.
Yeah.
But you said that, and they're supposed to hear this, and
Right, they're not hearing the case. They're not hearing the cases.
because they say that
If-
they have to have a ruling from an appellate court for them to have jurisdiction, is the way I interpreted it. I don't
The
know.
appellate
I
court
haven't
rule.
looked at any of this
The
material, so-
appellate court ruling has to be in my favor in order for them to look at it. Now, it doesn't matter the fact that we've appealed it on up to the U.S. Supreme Court, or the fact that we're talking about filing a federal case based on lack of due process and civil rights violations involved. Has nothing to do with it.
I would agree with
They're zombies where they just follow whatever the appellate court or California Supreme Court says because they're a branch of that government. That's who's paying her.
Right.
So she's.
Well, you better do what your boss says
So
if you want to continue working.
That's what I mean.
don't see
But
anything wrong with
that's
that.
but I'm saying that I think that's criminal because if a person knows that something is wrong and they identify it for themselves, blatant facts, just looking right at it, they should acknowledge those facts and put it forth. Go back to their people and say, well, look at this. Let's look at this, right? But they're not doing that. Why? You tell me.
Because you haven't made them.
Well, how do I do that?
Exactly what we're doing right now. We take a look at each of the individual facts that you discussed with her.
Well, we go
what she said, and
she doesn't have a
Then we
supervisor.
do a little research into what is in writing regarding their mission statement. We may want to look at the state legislators' history as far as the California representatives that got this bill passed. What was the discussion? What were they worried about? What was their main concern of the people that were encouraging these legislators to pass this procedure? And then we'll know a lot more about it when we get there.
Well, she's the head of the state bar. She's the chief judicial counsel or whatever.
Right.
So we have to go to there's a process that they've put us through going back to the Supreme Court. That's her boss, the Supreme Court. So the
Right.
process is that I just resubmit this to the Supreme Court, who rejected the initial case to begin with without even reading it. They just denied it with no reason given, which is beyond me how
They're not required to.
that's true.
She
But-
told you that they can only be required if you have an appellate court ruling in your favor. Now, the appellate court, to the best of my knowledge regarding this, in fact,
Which that makes no sense at all.
I'm not looking at all the documents. There are a lot of documents. That's one way they choose to try to wear you down.
It's actually not a lot of documents. This is a pretty simple case. They're just choosing to not look at it for some reason. I don't know.
I'm just making a disclosure that I haven't.
I'm not a rocket scientist. I mean, if I'm submitting this, it's pretty simple.
I haven't read every document that's been submitted.
Well, I have.
If a lady tells me that she has to have a federal court or an appellate court ruling in your favor in order to hear it, then somehow
There would be no point in me submitting it if I had it in my favor, would there be? There would be no point because I would have gotten a ruling in my favor.
Well, maybe
The point is-
maybe you take it back to the lower court and they said, the
There would-
appellate court is wrong.
There would be no point. If I had the ruling in my favor, why would I need to go to the state bar?
I can see that argument. There's no question about that.
I went to the state bar because the attorney was at fault, screwed things up.
I can see that argument, definitely. And I'm not saying that it's not correct. So, but if they do need jurisdiction, and I'm not saying that they do. You had testified that that's what she told you. I'm not questioning you on it, and I.
Oh, I'm just making a point that the state bar is part of
See, I
the
don't
court
want you to get
system. They're
involved
not.
in what you think the state bar should be doing. That's totally irrelevant. what I want you to focus on is
It's not what I think they should be doing, it's what they are doing. I was just reporting what they are doing.
Right.
And that they're part of, the court system. They're not a
And
separate entity. And they present themselves like they have a separate court, but it's not.
Definitely. It's a show court. See, folks, we've done something. If you 0.001 people percentage-wise in population have a problem, we've established, because we're the good guards, we've established a procedure whereby you can have your remedy. You can seek a remedy, and we've provided this for you. And we're the good guys, so re-elect us. And you're 10,000 to 1 to ever know anybody that ever had to do this or even tried to do it. The average person has no idea that this even exists, let alone that it was a viable alternative. And the one, if all, as I believe, based on what you told me, if the people that try to make use of this process find out that it's a con job, it provides you with no remedy at all. It's
Right.
not supposed to.
That's what I'm trying to share with you and the audience today and confirm, is that we don't, there's not a lot of options here.
Of course there are. There are dozens of options.
Well,
now, all we've talked about so
not
far.
within the process. I mean, we can appeal this back to the California Supreme Court, but supposedly they've seen it. They're going to see it again, I guess. We can try to file a federal case for lack of due process.
Are you going to handle this case? We're on the winning path right now, and you want to try something else. You want to try what they're telling you to do. They aren't going to give you the avenue to win.
And what is the avenue?
I just told you we develop a record that this isn't a remedy at all. It was never intended to be a remedy. If all these facts are true, we developed the fact pattern based on your conversation with this lady and what she said, and we serve it on the people that are her superiors, and then the lady's out of the process now. We took it straight to her boss, so we don't need to talk to her anymore. She said, I'm only doing what I'm required to do. You can't blame me. The people that are requiring me to do this, so take it up with them. So we take it up with them.
Well, that's just appealing her decision, which is part of the process, which she's actually given me
instructions. It's not appealing her decision.
Well,
she's out of it.
Well,
we go straight to the source of the problem.
Which is the Supreme Court, which she's told me to do. She wants to take ourselves out.
She told me to appeal the case. We're not appealing anything. We're going straight after the main actors.
Which is the same
Forget about appealing it into their process.
It's the same people who you appeal it to, though. There's no different people. You're talking about going after who? It's the same people.
Well, I'm not talking about appealing anything. I'm going after the same people, right? And Maggie, they are people that live in California, is that correct?
Right.
They are people that have taken oaths of office to support the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That's right.
Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
Okay. And have they done that?
No.
Are they authorized by the state of California to break the law?
No.
No. So let's not go against them in their official capacity, because all the state has to say is they aren't authorized to do this. Therefore, we can't help you. Let's go out against them individually. They are not authorized to violate the law. You're missing the point on where I'm going with all this, but I hope that's a better explanation
So the courts are not authorized to violate the law, and they have.
Not in their official capacity.
Right.
But anybody that's on that court, it could be found jointly and severally liable for acts against you. They aren't performing in an official capacity when they break the law. They are taking action against Maggie. So let's aim for a Maggie versus Mr. or Mrs. Offender. Whoever it is. That's the case. I don't care about their official capacity. I'm assuming they're doing everything right in their official capacity. But I know they aren't, based on what you told me, they aren't doing everything right as an individual, because no state can authorize one of its public servants to violate the law. It just can't happen.
Yeah, they have violated. As far as I'm concerned, this woman violated the law in how she's ruling here.
No,
Because,
I don't think that for a second.
well,
She has a set of parameters of when she can be involved. She told you that people probably had cases, but they didn't bring them properly, and she doesn't know why or how they're supposed to bring them. She's telling you what she was told to tell people.
well, there's no ethics there,
If
or
you're silly
there's
enough to believe that she told you the truth, then I guess you're barking up the wrong tree. I don't believe that they always tell me the truth. I'll handle my case the way I want it handled. If somebody that doesn't have authority to do something that causes me harm or financial damage, then I'm going after them. Heck with the state. Let the state get involved if they want to come and defend them. But I got a feeling the state's going to abandon them. That's the way it normally happens.
we need to start going after the individuals then.
Well, you're getting there.
Okay, how and where do we?
I told you this lady's sharp, and I'm not saying this is easy, and I wouldn't have attempted this with most people, so I'll give you credit there for getting it. So what was the question?
So how and where do we file this? What's the approach, Stephen?
We haven't got a case yet.
Well, how do
First, we got to develop the file, the evidence file.
Oh, we have it. It's right here. How do we?
No, you don't have anything regarding that conversation you just had with that lady.
Yeah, I do. It's right here. It's in the letter.
You don't have proof though.
The letter is the proof.
You don't have proof of the communications that we had just had today. You have proof on this tape. And once you send the confirmatory letter, which I'll make a suggestion on parts of that, once you send that to her superiors, then we'll see what they've got to say.
Oh, just to confirm our conversation that she said she
said
could not
this,
do
she
anything.
said this.
Right. Okay. Okay.
I need to know.
We'll put that in the appellate per what she's saying.
Right. I need to know that
her.
she told me the correct information as an agent for your organization. And please provide me with a complete explanation about how this was correct, if it is correct, and whether or not you are now acting in your official capacity or as a private individual. Because we're probably going to wind up suing them both.
Right.
I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Add all of them.
Figure that out when we get there.
Right.
But I know we're going to sue them in their private capacity. Because I'm going to give the state a chance to abandon them. See, a lot of these state officials, they don't know that they're doing wrong. It's like a policeman. A policeman goes out on the road and they're ordered to get some of these driver's license offenders. Bring them into court, our court, and we'll fleece them good. And if we generate enough money, you'll get raises, and we'll hire more cops. We'll turn it into an absolute police state. And man, we're all to get wealthy living off the shearing of these sheep. Now, what's the actual truth behind all that? Well, what happens when the police officer stops someone that exercises their right to travel? A right cannot be suspended by the issuance of a privilege. Oh, they forgot to tell the policeman that. So he arrests somebody. And then, because if you take it to their court, they'll protect each other. You may not ever get a remedy. The fraud may continue in perpetuity. But believe me, the judges know, the district attorneys know, the attorneys know. And if and when we ever get this straightened out, everybody will know. And the people that perpetuated this fraud will either be personally liable or they'll be sent to prison. Is my take on it. I don't know which. I'll leave that up to the jury of their peers. Let the jury determine what they did wrong and what should be the appropriate remedy. That's not up to me to decide, but I'll present that if necessary. I'll follow that if necessary. If the state attorney general refuses to take it over, how it goes.
New one. Well, yeah. What we're doing here is breakdowns in the system as when things are not, justice is not one reason.
Are you sure?
But what to do about it? Very short here in this hour, come up with some ideas about how to go forward to bring about, some resolution.
I came up with it. I would say that I was given an opportunity to come up with it. Who just passed away in the last few weeks, Mr. Irwin Schiff. The finest patriots I've ever known. Thank you, Irwin. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have known the man and to have an opportunity to share what he enabled me to be taught. All you can do is try to do. And one thing I won't, I can and can't do, because they all they can talk about is what they do. And that's one of the things in this existence is doing the things that people tell me can't be done. That's just I don't know why I'm that way. I think it's something to do with I'm addicted to fighting tyranny. I don't know why, but if we all do our best, then nobody has to do a lot, is my way of thinking. That's from 9/11 Bob. And by the way, tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 6, if you have an opportunity, come on down to the Fremont Experience. Come on down. There's a couple stages down there on Fremont Street. There'll be people that down there with 9/11 t-shirts on. We'll have videos, DVDs of Richard Gage. That's Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And it goes by ae911truth.org. Richard was on his way to work one morning in San Francisco when he heard a call-in talk show where an individual was talking about some of the questions that were left unresolved regarding 9/11. And Richard called in and he says, "Man, that can't be true. I don't know how a major radio operation can have somebody like this on the air talking to millions of people in the San Francisco area. That can't possibly be true. Why, if that was true, it'd be all over the news and the newspapers and the TVs every day, And you know what Richard found out? It was true, but it all been covered up. That's right, people. Thousands of people were murdered, and the cover-up is continuing to this day. Folks, I'll tell you, if you can't care about those thousands of people that were murdered, who's going to care if they come to take you away? The German people had that same question asked, and then all of a sudden people started disappearing, and then people were too afraid to speak out. Well, do your best. If you're afraid and you want to live under a rock, then do it. That's what freedom and liberty is all about. But if you're going to go down swinging, then you better get involved. And one way you get involved is come down to the Fremont Experience between 4 and 6 in the afternoon. Bob has about a 10-foot sign up into the air. You won't have any trouble finding it. And the group will be in front of one of the stages. There's 2 stages down there. One's on like 2nd Street, and I think the other one is on 3rd Street. And you won't have any trouble finding it when you see the 8 or 9 foot tall sign. 9/11 was an inside job. Come on over. Last week we had some T-shirts. If we don't have any T-shirts tomorrow, we'll have them the next week. Get a free T-shirt, get a DVD, get a flyer, everything the press forgot to tell you about 9/11. And see if you needed to know that. Go through the DVD, take a look at it, see what you think, and then decide what your next course of action should be. You know, if there were thousands of people murdered, if that's not important to you, then watch the football game and don't come down there. Just watch the football game until they take the football games off and tell you to either come and take you away or take you to prison for watching a football game. That might be against the law here before long. Who knows what's going to be? The law is what the criminals in charge say it is, folks. So don't be deceived by that. They're going to make whatever laws they want, and you may not like it. So now's the time while you still can to speak up, say something about it, and see how it comes out. So that's my suggestion. Okay, if you can't make it down to the Fremont Experience tomorrow afternoon, come on over to the federal courthouse on Monday afternoon. And the group gets there at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, since I'll be on the air from 1 to 2, I'm going to be a little bit late. So if you can, show up in the first hour. If you can only show up 1 hour, show up the first hour, and I'll take over if you have to go at 2. And we'll be out in front of the federal courthouse. We'll be looking to give out DVDs and flyers there in front of the federal courthouse. It's a good place to be because there's a lot of people filing stuff in federal court. And I'll just bet that some of them are just like Maggie. They file the stuff, they look for justice, and to be treated fairly, the American way, and they aren't treated that way. Well, folks, there's a good reason why, because nobody's held responsible. If you want to change that, get off the bench, get in the game, and hit a home run or 2. So I hope to see you either tomorrow afternoon at the Fremont Experience between 4 and 6, or Monday at the federal court between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. Both of them obviously were afternoons. And we'll take it from there. I'm hopeful, I don't know, I haven't got much of a commitment from Maggie yet, that she may show. If not, and you want to offer any suggestions to her, you can call right now if you wanted to. It's area 702-983-0711. Area 702-983. Wow. Okay, let's see what we got. Good afternoon, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, my name is Joseph and I'm calling you from Green Saving Solution. How are you?
You're calling from where?
From Green Saving Solution. Sir, actually
Green
we are
7
providing you free consultation.
Let me get this. Let me write this down. Green 7 Solution.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me ask you something. You're on the air worldwide. This is a radio show. If you want to give an advertisement, I don't have any problems with that, but I'm going to have to bill you. So are you authorized to okay the advertising expense?
No, sir. I'm only providing you free consultation regarding that.
No, I don't really want a free consultation. If you want it, you'll have to do that at some other time. We're on the radio worldwide now. If you want,
only I need your 5 seconds. Only.
Pardon?
Please, sir. Only I need your 5 seconds, please, sir.
No, I don't have 5 seconds. We're on the air. If you want to advertise on our station, are you authorized to accept the billing for this advertisement?
Okay.
Green 7 Solutions. Because I'm sure my boss is going to want to bill you for this. So
this is a business line, sir?
This is a live radio show. You're on the radio worldwide.
We are on the radio?
Yes.
On live?
Yes, worldwide.
Oh, that's so great. What is the channel name, sir?
It's radiotribune.com. Thank you for asking. It's available at radiotribune.com. And I would appreciate it if you go to that and listen to some of our shows. And if you want to do some advertising, give us a call back. We were just finishing up the show, so I'm going to have to let you go now. But I hope to hear from you in the future, okay? Have a good day. All right, well, I guess if he likes the show, he'll get back in touch with us. I guess that's a possibility, at least. And I don't know. I guess I can't bill him for that. I don't know why, but he wouldn't answer, you know. I wish he would have, but he didn't. So, okay, well, we've got a few more minutes now. Thank you for agreeing with me that we might be developing an approach. I know one thing that I've learned in all the years that I've done this, Maggie, is justice is elusive, and I've found that I do better if I communicate with my opponent, make them aware of what's going on. You've done a real good job of that. And then explain to them that it might be in their best interest to see to it that we resolve this rather than continue it, because I'm not too satisfied with the way things are going. And I'm not just going to, since I never give up, I know I'm going to wear them down. I can remember the first time in justice, or in the municipal court, you know, you make 6 appearances before to enter a plea. You know, you take off, a lot of people had to take off work if they were doing that, or couldn't rearrange their schedule. I could. So I didn't have any trouble doing that, and I saw what they were doing. They were trying to wear me down. So what happened? When I got left municipal court and went to a real court, district court, now I got them in a bit better ballpark. And the judges are a lot better. They're a lot more knowledgeable. They'll listen. You got the record. If they don't listen, you got a record right there. Your job is not to win at these levels. Your job is to create a record that is impenetrable, that anybody in their right mind would know that you won. They don't have to consider which side should win or what. And they want to know who's responsible, and they want to know that you've got the winning side. And when you get there, you'll know it, because the case is over. And if it's not over, it's over when you say it's over. When you enter the field of battle, if you leave, you lose. So don't leave. That's my take on it. So do you have any more comments that you'd like to contribute to the conversation that you had with this lady? Let's sum up anything that you may have missed or that you'd like to add on the conversation with her. I think we've got a pretty good handle on where she was coming from, and I think as soon as we get her out of this discussion, we'll be a lot better off. But,
well, yeah, I think we're identifying the powers that be, Stephen.
The players, yeah.
I mean, we're identifying, you saying who and what are we fighting so that we can approach them. I'm here, bring it on. Come and talk to me to my face. Who and what am I fighting? I have not quite identified it, but we're fighting for truth and justice. There's some powers that be out there that are just, but anyone in their right minds who comes and looks at this would absolutely, the problem is we haven't gotten a trial yet. We didn't get a jury. We didn't get human beings to look at it. So
fundamental due process. Of law.
So we're fighting. What are we fighting? It's the powers that be that makes these laws, and we have to getting to the bottom of it. It's a movement, and that's why we're here on the planet. It's a movement And you say you're addicted to fighting tyranny. Well, it's because we're here to help bring about freedom and justice for people, truth, and so we can have better lives, so we can be happy and have civil rights,
Oh, I'm
human
gonna
rights.
be happy anyway.
Well, we need human rights and
I'm
civil
happier
rights.
when I win. No, I'll admit that.
Well,
So that's all we can do is our best. And you know, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad you showed up. I'm glad we had this discussion. I'm glad that we've got a record now that we can look to develop our communications with this lady. We'll be discussing the confirmatory letter that we send to this lady and to her superiors. And if you want to follow along, I hope you're wanting to follow along on this. If you have any suggestions, be down to the Fremont Experience on Saturday, 4 to 6, or the Federal Courthouse Monday from 1 to 3. I'd love to discuss it with you. You might have a better way to skin a cat, but I'm not really into skinning cats. But I guess there are some people that might do that. But let's not skin the cat. Let's just figure out how to win, because that's what we're all into. And when we win, the people that establish this country with freedom and liberty for all, then everyone wins. So this is Stephen and Maggie signing off.